Start a Therapy Practice podcast, episode number 87.
Scott Harmon, startatherapypractice.com podcast.
Well, hello there. How are you doing? This is Scott Harmon from startatherapypractice.com. And if you hear a piano playing in the background, that is my kids practicing. That's how we roll on Friday. Friday is piano lessons day, and they're practicing right now. That's just keeping it real. That's what we're doing here. I had the opportunity to visit with Mandy Chamberlain. She's an occupational therapist, so she has a website, and it's called seniorsflourish.com. And she educates therapists about providing the best service that we can to seniors, to adults. And she has a membership site on her seniorsflourish.com website. If you go to seniorsflourish.com/learning lab, and I'll put a link in the show notes at startatherapypractice.com/87, you can learn about her membership site. Now, we go over what all is included in the membership, but I was thinking for myself as a private practice owner, if I wanted to make the transition from being a pediatric therapist and wanted to branch out and see and start treating seniors or adults, this would be a great resource. I would definitely become a member of the Seniors Flourish Learning Lab if I was to make that transition from pediatrics to adults. Another good use or someone who could benefit from this is new graduates or a therapist who is coming back from, say you had a child and you've been out for a little while, or if you've just been away from therapy for a little while. This would be a great resource to get not only the learning, but she has community over there, and that connection is going to keep you sharp and get you up to speed on what you should know when you're treating adults. So it's a great resource for that. If you're a practice owner and you hire new graduates, or you would like your therapist to improve their skills about treating adults, about treating seniors, this would be a bonus, a benefit that you could pay for from the company to therapists that you hire in order to educate them. And that way, it wouldn't be necessarily all on your shoulders to get them up to speed, to make sure they know what they're doing and being the best therapist that they can be. And it's a bonus. It's a bonus resource that you could provide for your employees. Now, I don't want to take any more of your time. I know you're busy. I want to get into the conversation with Mandy. But be sure to go by startatherapypractice.com and check out all of my free tools, my free resources to help you start your private practice. All right, let's get into the conversation with Mandy. Hey, Mandy, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing fine. I'm so excited to be here.
This is great. I've been wanting to do this for so long, and you know how life happens, and it's just get busy. And I'm watching you on Instagram. I'm like, finally, I was like, all right, I'm going to reach out to Mandy. We're going to get this done. So I'm glad you are here today.
Oh, thanks. I'm excited to be here. You know, us podcasters, we can talk all day. So.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we could be here all day and talk. Whether people would listen or not, I don't know.
Yeah, good point.
So, Mandy, where are you at? What state are you in?
I'm in Colorado.
Oh, nice.
I know. It is pretty.
Are you from Colorado originally?
No, I'm from North Dakota. So very different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I moved out here when I finished grad school. And I moved out and I was like, I'll try Colorado. And here I am still like 15 years later, still here. So
is that sort of on a whim? Like, Colorado sounds really fun.
Well, kind of. It was kind of like, just like, okay, here's a job. Let's go out and try it. And yeah, kind of. Here we are.
So you get to ski quite often there?
Well, as someone who grew up in the flat country, I'm actually a terrible skier, but my whole family skis and I kind of ski. I'm kind of like do a run, have hot chocolate, relax, do one run. I'm kind of like a social skier. But yes, I'm right. I'm in the ski country area. So I'm not in Denver. I'm in the Western Slope, which is kind of like the ski area, resort area. So it's it's pretty nice.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, that's not even an option down here in the South.
Right.
There's like in Tennessee, I think in Gatlinburg, they have like one slope that you would call really pathetic. You'd look at it and go, that is horrible. Why?
Well, at least you can get out there.
That's true. You can put some skis on and go down that hill.
Yeah.
I've been to Colorado skiing before, and it's a great time.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I
Oh,
have
yes.
to say.
Yes. So, Mandy, I want you to kind of go back in time and paint the picture for us. You just graduated from OT school. What did you do after that? And then tell us kind of what led you up to where you're at right now.
Well, like I said, I'm from North Dakota. So I graduated from the University of North Dakota, Medical and Health Sciences, in 2003. So it seems like forever ago now. Moved to Colorado. And actually for me, there wasn't a lot of jobs. And so I started PRN in home health, which is the craziest. People always say, don't do it. Everyone says, don't start in home health. But I was like, it's the only job I can do. And I wasn't even starting full time. It was just PRN, which is actually a bit harder. But I'm kind of one of those people that I'm just going to jump in feet first. I'm just going to do it. And I ended up working in home health for almost 5 years, full time eventually. And I really, really loved it. And then from there, I went to a critical access hospital where I did mainly outpatient in acute care. And then I did a lot of program development, which I really loved. I love the development of programs, and I don't know, just the whole thing. It was a small enough hospital where they were really keen on if employees had an idea about something, and we did, the whole analysis of the environment, the community, and we did the whole thing, but they were like, go for it. And so I know not everybody gets that everywhere. So I got my program development fix along with my clinical experience at the same place. And I did that for, trying to think now, 8 years maybe. And then I kind of worked PRN and filled in at the local nursing home over there. So I did that for a while. And then I had 3 little kids. I had 3 kids in 13 months, which is a shocker for me. For me, anyway, it was a shocker.
It's shocking just to hear.
Yeah. But my daughter's now 5 and my twin boys are 4. So they're a little bit older now. But like at the time, my original plan was just to work part-time. But it was really hard to find daycare. It was hard to find anybody that would take part-time 3 infants, essentially. And so then I was kind of, in a way, forced to stay home, which is what my original plan was. I kind of wanted that mix between being home and working. But sometimes your plan is not what it turns out to be. And after I had the boys, my daughter was like 13 months. My boys were infants. And I was like, I'm going to start a website. I'm just going to start a website because I was literally feeling like my brain was going to turn to mush because I was like, I'm not using it, in that way. It was just like I was in full-time mom mode, but I still was kind of craving that clinical aspect and connectivity. So I started seniorsflourish.com. And I kind of focused on working with older adults because, one, I have just a love for the older adult population. So everybody always kind of assumes that I've worked exclusively in skilled nursing facilities, which is actually a really small area. I mean, most of mine is outpatient acute care. And it's also one of those things that people I like to identify, I think, as like a pediatric OT, right? You work with kids. Mm-hmm. But people don't usually identify as I'm a geriatric OT. But if you think about the population that you're working with in outpatient, in acute care, of course, skilled nursing, home health, it's a large percentage of older adults, even if you're not working exclusively with older adults. Mm-hmm. So, I started the website, started connecting with other, OT practitioners, and it really just grew because there wasn't at the time a lot of resources, online for OT practitioners for treatment ideas or a lot of evidence-based discussion and things like that. And so I just was like, I found that I was kind of filling a niche that people were looking for. And
What year was that when you started Seniors
let's
Flourish?
see, let's see, 18, the boys were born at probably 2015,
Okay.
2015. I'm trying to
Isn't
think.
that funny when you use your kids as a gauge?
Isn't that the truth? It's the truth. But I mean, because it just kind of started out as really for me. It was all about honestly for me.
Mhm.
And then I just, like I said, found the need, and it grew and it grew. And I ended up starting a membership site the beginning of last year. Because like I said, I love the program development. I loved having students when I was working full-time clinically. It was kind of some of my favorite things to do was educate in that way. And so I was like, okay, how can I combine my love of, the OT profession with program development and teaching without being in academia? And so I started the membership site. So it's just been this kind of an amazing whirlwind because I get to do everything that I love. You know what I mean? All in one.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously hardships along the way, bumps and growth spurts and droughts and trying to figure out everything technically and that whole thing. But I think that it's such a neat way to be able to like serve my audience. And I know it's not necessarily traditionally like a therapy practice, but it's just another way to maybe not necessarily membership sites, but like being able to serve the people that you're trying to serve in just a different way using online media, I guess is a way to put it.
So I'm going to go a little bit nerd here because
Yeah.
the technical stuff it sometimes intrigues me. When you started your website, what did you use? It's been a little while back.
Oh my gosh. This whole thing is looking back, I did it maybe a little bit backwards. Like I'm one of those people that can research the heck out of anything.
Mhm.
Like my husband's like, hey, let's find a hotel. I'm like, I will look at all the reviews. I will check out what is the best location. Like I'm just that person. So when I did it, I feel like I was almost like, I started right with WordPress. I didn't use, I don't even know if like Wix and some of those quote easier websites,
I don't think they were available.
they weren't really available. I think there was a couple little things, but I just started right with WordPress. And I think looking back, that's what I needed to do. Because if I would have started with a different platform,
Yeah.
because of the membership site, I would have had to switch over anyway,
Mhm.
or use some other software. But yeah, I definitely did WordPress. But I literally knew nothing about websites, Scott. Like, I was like, I can figure this out. I can research this. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I didn't even understand like what a WordPress theme was. It was just like one of those kind of, So I will have to say at the beginning, it didn't look pretty, but the biggest thing is honestly, it was more about, I was getting the information out, and that's what people were wanting. So I think sometimes you do just have to jump in feet first.
Yeah, I think that's a great lesson of it didn't have to be perfect to
No.
start. You just start. You got to start and then start figuring it out and tweaking it and making it better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cause I think sometimes I am that person too, that in general is like, I want it to look nice. I want to, it's representing me, and people really focus on, logos and just those things that I'm not saying doesn't matter in the, cause you want to brand yourself, and I get all that, but I feel like, okay, let me back up. I spent way too much time on that, when sometimes you just need to sometimes just jump in and do it. Just get it out there, and you can adjust it. There's no rules on it. Like you can adjust it and add to it as you go along. Depending what your goal is with it, I guess. But sometimes I do feel like, because you never feel ready. I think that probably translates to starting a practice in general. Like you never feel 100% ready. You sometimes need to just do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me, because I could be that person that could just research the heck out of it, and I'll never get going.
Yeah, I was listening to something or reading something the other day, and the person was making the point of don't mistake movement for action, because the research is the movement, and it feels like we're doing something really good, and we are.
Yeah.
At some point, you got to take action.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
good, yeah, good for you for doing that, because if you think back, all the experience that you've gained from that, you wouldn't have been able to do that by just research.
Oh no. And that's the thing about it. I think like, I will have to say most of, because, you start connecting with other people that have websites, not even just OTs, but other people. And everybody's like that finally feel like they've went over the hump. They're almost everybody's like, man, I wish I would have done this earlier, or I wish I would have done it sooner, or I wish I would have just started when I wanted to instead of waiting. Um, so I would honestly say that if, even if you're, whatever you're starting, sometimes you just have to jump in because you're going to flail, but find your resources, right?
So you created the website with the purpose of a blog, or what were you doing there?
Yeah. Actually originally my purpose was was actually kind of more geared towards caregivers is kind of what I was thinking. Like, there was a lot of good caregiver websites out there, but more about a supportive side. And I thought maybe I could put some good information out there about a more of a medical side. Because some of the things that we do for basic recommendations are pretty standard. Just things like that. But then I just found more OTs were reaching out to me because I really didn't have a business plan. I mean, because I just literally, like I said, it was definitely a selfish endeavor at the beginning. And then I just realized how I could help other OT practitioners. And so, yeah, it didn't have a business plan. And then, so it was kind of just a blog, I guess, per se. And then when I started, connecting with other OT practitioners, and I was really getting into it, like the nerdy tech side of it. And I was like, I have an understanding of what this is. And I just am like, I could turn this into a business. And then I definitely started and I did a business plan and like, what are my goals? What do I want to achieve? Who am I serving? And how do I do that? How do I do that? What's my best method to achieve those goals? Because it is pretty non-traditional. Because there were also, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of pediatric OT website owners, and they do sell products and things like that. But there wasn't I haven't really found a lot of OTs that are kind of doing what I'm doing. But it's so great because we can, through social media in general, you can just connect with so many other OT practitioners that are doing some things that are similar, or because when you're on the online space, it is kind of like a lonely island. You're putting these things out to the world. I kind of feel like that way with podcasting too. You're like, I'm putting this out to the world. You don't get a lot of feedback sometimes. You're just kind of hoping, I guess people like it. I don't know. I haven't heard too many complaints.
Yeah, whenever you get that email, every once in a while, you get an email and somebody thanking you, hey, I really got something out of that. And it's like,
Yeah,
thank you for reaching out.
I know. And it takes a lot of effort. I get that. Like I see it so differently now, but I completely agree. Like, yeah. So,
So you started the website and
yes.
people started kind of, they kind of enjoyed that. And then at what point did you decide, you know what, I want to do a podcast? Obviously you were listening to podcasts because you knew what a podcast was to start one.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm kind of a podcast junkie a bit, I through the power of social media, I connected with, I don't know if you know, his name is Dustin Jones. He does the Senior Rehab Project. He's a physical therapist that focuses on geriatrics. And we were in like a OTPT, speech language pathology, like collaboration geriatric Facebook group. It's still going. It's still a great group. And he was just kind of starting out, but he's strictly does podcasting. He's like kind of looking for feedback because he's like, okay, I'm going to start this podcast. And so we kind of connected through there and we became friends. And I was like, well, I'm doing this website on geriatric OT. So we were kind of honestly the only ones that were kind of focusing on older adults in the PTOT realm, maybe at that time. And so we became friends and we bounced a lot of like ideas off and we shared each other's things and we kind of encouraged each other in technical things because he had a website as well. And I was just kind of talking to him about how, I know my strengths and weaknesses, and I will have to say my strength is not blog, like writing. Like I can technically write like nobody's business. Like give me a soap note to fill out. Like I got that down. But like to show my, I guess, personality and trying to make, older adult OT kind of kind of fun. Like put it into words was not a strength of mine. Like it's just not. And I was just like, so I'm like, we're talking about how I'm just kind of writing this information and it's well received. And I'm trying to, how do I connect with my audience and, show them the value of what I'm trying to give to them, really. And he's like, I think you should start a podcast. And I'm like, I am not starting a podcast. I don't want to listen to my North Dakota accent. I say way too many knows. And I am just like, oh man. He's like, I think you should try it and just see if you like it. And he's like, nobody's telling you have to do it. Like if you don't like it or it's not going well, like don't do it. I'm like, you are so right. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do it. So I started the podcast beginning of 2017 as literally just kind of I'm like, I'm just going to try it. So I can hardly listen to the first few episodes.
Oh, it's painful, isn't it?
It's so painful because I don't sound like myself and I'm trying really hard and I'm nervous and I'm doing interviews, right? And I actually just fell in love with podcasting in the sense that it's just a different way for me to connect with my audience. It is easier for me to kind of just be myself and show the wonderful me and then the things that I'm really bad at and kind of just admit that. It's easier for me to be a little bit more, I guess, vulnerable or show the areas of OT that I'm not very good in, and then have guests that have that knowledge and connecting with them has been super fun. And I kind of just get over the fact that I say a lot of knows and I say some things where I'm like, why did I say that? But I just move on.
Just move on. There's an important lesson here for my audience is practice owners or would-be practice owners.
Yeah.
So I see some of them who are just hesitant to put themselves out there, and you really had to put yourself out there in a podcast. And even now you've leveled up. You've leveled up on your game, and you're doing videos. And I mean that's transparency right there. You get in front of that camera and hit record, and especially if you hit live, that's a lot of transparency there. And as practice owners or would-be practice owners, we got to get comfortable with putting ourselves out there because it's the relationship that we are going to have with our potential clients. And even if you're not in private practice with the clients that you're going to treat for somebody else, if you're going to have a private practice, you really got to start putting yourself out there a little bit. So kudos to you for taking that step. But man, look where it's taken you. That is great.
I know. Yeah. And I do think that, this can apply in so many different areas. Maybe not podcasting or maybe not, but I really feel like when people feel like they kind of know you or whatever, like, I don't talk about my kids. Like I'm on Instagram a lot. I don't, I'm not, me personally, I'm not comfortable with that, but I think, you can find your lines of what you would like to share and what you don't want to share or how much you share. But I feel like when people feel like they kind of know you and they kind of like you, then they kind of trust you. And then when you can talk about the things that you were offering, let it be your, like your clinical your business, have them come to your business, or like for me, it's through my membership or some of my products I sell. I just try to be honest and I try to be helpful. And I'm also like, hey, if this isn't for you, then that's okay. But I think that there is a level of when, I'm trying to think of the right term, but like, a little bit of transparency, whatever that may look like. They like to see who they're going to deal with or who they are going to buy from or who they are going to see in the clinic. And, it really helps. And it's an easy way to promote business. but it is a little scary at first. And sometimes you just have to kind of get over it. Because the more you do it, the easier it is. Now I'm just like, well, I mean, I'm not quite that person that will be in my pajamas, but I don't have to like be completely ready for the day every time, because I feel like I'm just like, all right, getting ready, or I don't know. And I'm kind of sporadic. I try to be, I think there's also a level of somewhat consistency that needs to be done with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually kind of hard because I juggle my online business and my kids' family life. And, but that's also the benefit, because I can do that. I don't have to go to, work. So yeah, I don't know. It's a whole new world out there.
Yeah. A couple of points there. First is sometimes when I notice practice owners' websites, they don't even have their picture on there. And so that's part of that. At least put your picture on your website, because people are going to do business with people. You might have a slick name for your company, but they're still doing business with Mandy. They're still do business with Scott or the therapist that I hire. So
the team, right?
Yes, the team. So at least put your picture out there as a minimum, and maybe give a little bit of background. I think we get caught up in the jargon of therapy and our credentials and the letters behind our name, and that's all important. We got to have that, but people might want to know what you do on the weekend. Do you like to go fishing? Do you like to go skiing? Can they make that connection at that level?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's important to be comfortable putting that out there. But like you said, there's probably needs to be a line at some point. You don't want total transparency. I'm kind of like you. I don't put my kids on my social media hardly at all. So every once in a while you'll see a glimpse of my Rugrats.
Yeah.
My older girls now will sometimes photobomb me on Instagram. Like, well, now you're on. But they're old enough, they can make that decision for themselves if they want to be out there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you have to have that balance.
Right.
I had another point there, or another comment. I can't remember it now. So the podcast has taken off, and at what point did you decide, what, you're leveling up here left and right. I love it. So at some point you said, I think I can have a membership site and really serve my audience in this way. At what point did you decide that? What was the impetus for that?
Well, I was getting a billion questions, to be honest. People are emailing me all the time with, all sorts of questions or blog post ideas, or like, hey, what do you think about this patient? Or what do you think about that? And, as it's really hard to like make quote recommendations when you don't know the patient, see the patient, or you're like, I'm taking this with a grain of salt, or like, how do I answer this? So I felt, for me, it was like, I started the membership as an easy way, I say the word easy loosely, to do more of a one-to-many model versus a one-to-one model. The number of emails was out of control, and you would still see a lot of this patterns, like of similar types of questions. And most of the people that were kind of reaching out were people, were new OT practitioners that were just graduated school. Let's say they didn't have a level 2 working in even like inpatient rehab or something. And they were just kind of trying to find resources, but there wasn't a lot out there. And then had a lot of people just in field work that are like maybe in skilled nursing and just trying to learn more, or they don't necessarily have the best relationship with their CI, or they're just having a hard time, having a lot of questions. And I think sometimes because it's a little bit more removed, some people feel more comfortable asking me questions. And I'm not saying I know all the answers. So people are always like, well, how can you do a membership site if you don't know, I'm like, it's like having a clinical instructor. Like, they don't know all the answers. And I am very resourceful, and I use a lot of evidence, and or I hook them up or have them connect with people that I know could answer questions better. But in general, they're entry level therapists or students, or like I was saying, maybe if they're they were in pediatrics for literally 20 years and now they're transitioning to working in home health, and they're just like, oh man, I can figure this out, but like, what are the best assessments? Like, how do I get started? Or what should I have in my car? Or, you know what I mean? Some of those kind of basics. So I started the membership as a way to serve and answer all those kind of questions much easier. And so, and then I was like, I can make this into a business. Like, I can do this. The hardest part for me is always marketing. I think that's most people's one of their hard avenues, but I love the membership model for me and how I'm using it. It kind of, like I said, I get to do that program development without doing program development. It's a different type of organization and programming and finding resources and the evidence and still connecting, because I also have like a private Facebook group and a community forum, that kind of thing. But in the membership I have, but the big thing, let me back up, is that all the resources, assessments, clinical resources, patient handouts, and I do treatment education videos are all member driven. So if there's something in there that they don't have or that they need, I create it for them. And so it's kind of an evolving type of model. And I think that's kind of the advantage of that. But it's been such a crazy, fun experience. Technical difficulties drive me insane. But now I have my own computer guy to help me with that. But before I was just like literally bootstrapping it and doing it all on my own. But yeah, it's been quite an adventure, I guess.
I want to mention something there because practice owners are listening to this podcast. Yeah. And we by our very nature are free market people. So we're in the market, and you are too. You're in the free market. What's interesting, I find that what you mentioned there was that basically the free market, your followers are driving your lessons. Whereas in the education model, in the college model, the education department, the therapy department is driving what they are going to teach the therapist. The therapist, in your case, have flipped that and said, teach me this. I need to know about this. And you say, okay, I'll teach you about that. It's the free market is driving the lessons there. So therefore, I would suspect that the lessons are very relevant to therapists and that they're going to be very helpful, because the therapists are like, teach me this. I don't know how to do this.
No, I think that's exactly right. And, it's funny because, and then they have access to all the old videos, and I really try to keep them. All of them are under 10 minutes because who has time? I mean, it depends what you're trying to accomplish. Like with my audience, they are working full-time typically, or they're students on field works, and they're just trying to learn snippets of information. So I really try to make it short and sweet. And I can think of 100 things that I feel like they should know. But when they tell me what they need, and now my membership is large enough, as in like it has, almost 2 years of videos and things like that. Like they'll have a question and they can search for it, but they'll say like, hey, what about this? And I'm like, I can refer them to this, all in the membership. And like things like that I never probably thought of, because I've been a clinician for a while now. Like people were like, okay, I'm just working in skilled nursing. And they're throwing out terms like dumping wheelchairs, or like all these kind of terms that we throw out that they maybe didn't learn in school. Like you don't learn maybe that they don't maybe technically use those terms, or, you know what I mean? Like kind of those kinds of things. So then I'm like, okay, well, let's go through all the literally parts of a manual wheelchair. And because they're like, okay, I don't know about a drive, or like, what is actually a Hemi wheelchair drive look like, or you know what I mean? Like these things that they kind of just throw out that you feel like you should know, or they're actually embarrassed that they don't know it. They're like, oh my gosh, shouldn't I know this? Or shouldn't I know how to titrate oxygen better than this? Like, but you don't really learn it in school, or you didn't get on your field work. And I was like, I never would have thought of that. I guess part of it is, and probably the same thing with private practice and that kind of thing is, you're trying to meet a need, and whatever that may look like. And listening to the people that you are trying to serve gives you so much information.
Yes.
And that's how I've driven my entire business, is literally asking for feedback. And it's been the most eye-opening and the most, from a business standpoint, successful way to do it. Because people also love that they are having an influence on what I'm creating. So then they kind of feel a part of it and heard, but also is serving those needs that they are looking for. So
Yes. It's so important just to
mhm.
listen. I mean, because as therapists, we think we know, and we might know what.
Well, we kind of know, but no, I'm just kidding.
What
You know,
our,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, we think we know what our clients need, but we should listen to them and ask them,
Yeah.
what do you want to get out of this? You know, what are your
Mhm.
goals? Especially,
What would you like to see?
yeah, yeah.
You know?
That way, we're serving them the best that we can, because that's what they want out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I'm curious, are some of the common questions that if the people in your membership site come to you with and say, "Hey, I don't know how to do this," and I'm sure you're probably like me, because I have a membership site too, and so I have a list
Yeah.
of links where I can just copy and paste and say, "Go look at
Yep.
that." So,
Yep.
what are some common ones for you?
Everything from oxygen titration is a really a big question of how to do it, or can I do it, or who orders it, or those kinds of things. Just kind of wheelchair basics, like, yeah, like wheelchair basic evaluations, which I'm like, you need to go to a full on course, like, but sometimes it's just basics, like as in terms. Trying to think of some other things that I've had recently. It's a lot of treatment ideas, and really a lot of people in the membership, because I really try to push occupation based. And a lot of people just really struggle with that, and what does that look like, or they're like, okay, how do I set up a treatment idea when we don't have equipment, or we don't have anything in our clinic to be occupation based, or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
So things like that, a lot of occupation based questions, because we all know that we should be occupation based to a degree, right? But then you get in some facilities or clinics where no one is being occupation based, and not that they have to do it 100% of the time, but they're like, okay, I know I should be. I'm kind of intimidated because no one else is doing it. Like, how can I like break it in? How can I get it kind of started? Or what would be some like low pushback type of idea? So it's a lot of treatment ideas that people are looking for. It's really, I feel like part of it is really bridging the theory that we learn in school with real life clinical practice,
Mm.
because it's OT is not black and white. It is a fluid moving thing where you have to be creative or change direction. And sometimes it's hard because it's that in between clinical decision making that I try to really help with, that I think people do struggle with, definitely.
I want to. We haven't really detailed what's available in your membership site, which is at Seniors
Oh,
Flourish /Learning Lab. And I like that
mm-hmm.
name, Learning Lab.
Learning Lab.
That's
Yeah.
great. That is great. So I'm looking at your website right now. You've got educational videos, and you have a resource
Yep.
area, journal club, community forum, got some
Mm-hmm.
bonuses in there. So
Yep.
unpack those just briefly. Obviously, the educational videos we've kind of been talking about, but then what's in
Yep.
your resource area?
So resource area, I have it kind of divided up into different sections, as in patient handouts, like tons of patient handouts, from everything from pursed lip breathing to how to use a walker, anything that you'd be given out to patients, right? Because there is a lot of random resources online, I will have to say, but a lot of them have other company logos that you can't take off and things like that. So through the Learning Lab, I've created and continue to create, based upon what what the members are needing, patient handouts that they are free to use. They can download all of them if they want. It's part of the deal. And so we have the patient handouts. I have clinical resources, as in protocols for mirror therapy, to maybe like a really basic community-based fall prevention program they can take and use. So it's a lot of resources that a lot of them are links to like organizations that give out free resources to everyone. It's just kind of like having it all in one area that they and then the other things, I'm trying to think of the other thing is commonly used assessments. So have it divided up by areas. So like, let's say you're looking for a fall prevention, a fall assessment or something like that, or maybe a balance assessment. And so then I have the ones that are available for free, that are out there. And then I also have links to ones that you have to pay for. I don't like give them paid for certain things, but just having it all in one space has been really helpful for people. So those are the kind of handouts, assessments, and clinical resources. And then we have like a private Facebook group and a community forum. I kind of always go back and forth because people who are not on Facebook be like, I want a community forum, but then sometimes it's really hard to get people on the community forum and they like the Facebook group. So I actually have both. And then I have a bonus area where, like, if you're a member, you just have I got, negotiated discounts or freebies for people who are just members of the Learning Lab. Is kind of like a little bonus kind of thing. But, like, I have the month structured. So like the beginning of the month, they get all new education videos. We have all new ones. And of course they have access to all the old ones. And then the next month we also do a journal club, so they can earn professional development units if you're MBCOT certified through that. So we do that. We do like Wednesday wins, where people share celebrations of things that they've done, and people can earn prizes for participating. It's like trying to get people to be a community and support each other in a kind of a safe environment, because some of those Facebook groups, I will have to say, get a little brutal. and it can be quite intimidating. So it's just a very different type of environment. But yeah, it's just, so there's a lot going on, but it's structured, and everyone gets an email every Monday of what's been out the week before, and what to expect for the rest of the month. And then I guess we're coming to the end of the month and we'll kind of start over. So, and that's even changed since I started. I tried it one way, and then I was like, I don't know, people aren't complaining, but then you don't really know. And so then you do surveys. I do a lot of surveys. Have to give a lot of prizes out to get people to sign up for surveys, but it does help. And make them short, right? But then you get feedback and you know exactly what people are liking, or they're saying this is difficult to use, or I'd like to see this, or it's just
With I love the idea of the journal club. It's just such a great way to keep your saw sharp, to sharpen your mind and to renew that. Because as therapists, I worked contract therapy for years. And you get in the mentality of as a contract therapist, and probably even as a practice owner, of doing the least to get by as far as continuing education and to feed your brain and to learn. We're just kind of doing the minimum. But this really could up your game as far as staying sharp, because you're like the journal club. I like that idea because you're reading the journal, then you're coming together as a group and discussing that. I was reading a book on how to read a book, basically. He was explaining it's a good idea to basically have a book club, to read the book and then come together and everybody discuss the book. And it's the same for the journal club, and, ask and answer some questions, because he who teaches learns twice, right? So it's a great way to sharpen the saw. And then I feel your pain on the community forum, because we have the same setup in
I think everyone does.
Academy of Private Practice. Some people don't like Facebook. Some people aren't coming to the community. So you got to give both for those people who want one or the other. So I feel your pain on that. But this would be a great service for, like, I think about myself doing pediatrics. If I ever wanted to jump over and treat seniors and adults, this would be a great resource. And it's not expensive. I mean, it's a great investment in yourself, and also have that community, also be able to ask the questions of not only you, but the community itself, in order to get up to speed if you're wanting to go from pediatrics to adults. Or a new grad, this is kind of like a no-brainer if you're a new grad, I would think. I mean, because it's so, especially if you're working by yourself. When I got out of OT school, I was all by
Yes.
myself.
Me too. Yeah.
And to have something like this would have been huge, huge. So,
Well, and that's exactly why ended up kind of how I developed it initially was kind of like, what would I have wanted? Because like I said, I started in home Help PRN. I mean, I was just like, and honestly, there was the internet, but there wasn't like there's no Pinterest, there's no Facebook groups, there's just my textbooks from school. And, I just was like, how I started was like, yeah, like what would I have wanted? Cause I get it. Like I was there. I struggled too. And working in a rural area, I mean, there's just not, most of the places I've worked, there's only a couple OTs or you're the only OT.
yeah.
And so, I have companies and businesses, private practice, hospitals that, pay for it for their employees or for a couple months. Cause it is, like I said, it's a membership, or you can pay for a whole year and get a discount, of course, because that's how it works. Right. But, people will do that, especially those, students, if they don't have an internal mentorship program, essentially, or you don't have time to, honestly, because some people honestly just are like, we just do not have time. So yeah, there's a lot of options, but it is, a different, model, as with membership sites, because your membership site is supporting people starting a new practice, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's like the same thing. It's like trying to give people the resources they need and support they need and help them feel confident that they know it, that they can do it, because they can.
That's a big part of it. Just that confidence. But information is powerful, but the community is powerful too, just to have that support and know you have somebody to fall back on and say, oh, I can go ask Mandy, or I can ask the community and get my answer to this. So in a friendly atmosphere.
Yeah. And you feel like that should just be a standard, but it's not. People are brutal out there. No. And I mean, like, I love that. I love being able to help. I think that's just the OT me. I love being helpful. But yeah.
That's great. Well,
yeah.
Mandy, before we wrap this up, where can people find you?
Well, Scott, I am everywhere.
I know that, but I want you to tell everybody that you're.
I know. Well, of course, I'm at seniorsflourish.com. You can contact me through the website. I'm really active on Instagram, and my handle is Seniors Flourish. On Facebook, Seniors Flourish. It's just everything is Seniors Flourish. And then I'm a terrible Twitter person, but I am on Twitter as well. Oh, and Pinterest, because actually I think Pinterest is actually one, you don't connect with people per se, but I love that you can share a lot of resources and blog posts and treatment ideas and things like that through Pinterest as well. So I'm also there.
That is awesome. Well, and of course I'll put links in the show notes to everything you got, but seniorsflourish.com is where it's at. And the Learning Lab there is the membership side of that. So I commend you. I know what it takes to build something like you did. And I looked at it and it's awesome. So if people go to seniorsflourish.com/learning lab, you take them through a nice little walkthrough behind the scenes of this is what you get. And they'll know exactly what their money's going for and what they get for their memberships. So very good job on this. It's very nice.
Oh, thanks, Scott.
Yes.
It's a labor of love, and I am super passionate about it. So I love that I can talk about it and share with it, or share my business and the membership with your audience. So thank you.
Well, very good. Well, thanks so much, Mandy.
Thanks.
If you would like to sharpen your skills as a therapist treating seniors, treating adults, be sure to go by seniorsflourish.com Learning Lab, and you can become a member of Mandy's Learning Lab. I mean, it's super cheap. It's a great investment, and it's a great community, especially if you're just starting out, if you're a new grad, or if you've been out of therapy for a while, or you want to be sure that the therapists that you hire for your own practice are as sharp as they can be. This is a great resource for them and for you. So be sure to go by seniorsflourish.com/learning lab. All right, if you have any questions, be sure to reach out. Be sure to follow me and Mandy on Instagram and on Facebook. My handle is Start a Therapy Practice on both of those. And Mandy's handle is Seniors Flourish, both on Facebook and on Instagram. All right, until next time, Godspeed to you and your practice.